Okay, at 3:30, we're going to go ahead and get started. We want to thank you guys for coming. This is Lauren Kachel's presentation. We have 3 questions that she can answer on the side of the room. Who does she aspire to be as a teacher? What opportunities does she engage in to become a better teacher? And how is she prepared to maximize her student teaching internship this coming spring? She will have 30 minutes. We'll keep time here on the back of the room. And then 10 minutes for questions, which on Zoom and on Facebook, Ms. Jess will actually help us translate those questions that are online here in person. With that, Lauren, they're yours.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming. To my final presentation, I am very happy to be here and very happy that you all came. My title is In Pursuit of Agricultural Education. Some of you may know I've had a few wrenches thrown in my Penn State pursuit of agricultural education, but through it all, I have really pursued ag ed as a major and as a passion. If any of you want to scan this QR code, it is a link to all of my virtual evidences, which includes projects, lesson plans, unit plans, etc. All right, cool. First question in my presentation: what is my ideal agricultural program, and what is my teaching strategy and teaching philosophy? Who do I want to be as a teacher? First and foremost, my teaching philosophy. I really fell in love with this diagram that I have, and coworker collaboration, I think, comes first and foremost, as well as personal care and mental health. Really helps me to, as a teacher, would help me to focus on agriculture in my classroom, really believe in my students in the classroom, create curriculum and lessons that are student-centered, where they can develop their interests and really pursue their interests in the classroom, and also to facilitate hands-on and experiential learning. I would also include inquiry-based learning into that, where they can just really thrive and learn in an environment that is best for them. And then in order to create that, as I create that environment in the classroom, I would hope that my students would go out and advocate for agriculture, whether that's in a future workplace, whether that's with their family or their peers, even in the high school and outside of high school and college. These are my 3 classroom procedure and classroom consequences, classroom expectation posters. I'll go through each of them, kind of explain my thinking for them. My classroom expectation poster: first, actively participate. 2, be professional, respect peers and teachers, do your best, and ask questions. I think I'll touch on the last one here. I think it's very important for students to ask questions because it really facilitates learning. And then it also helps me to make sure that they are invested in the content and that they are interested in actually internalizing what I'm teaching them and what they're learning or inquiring about. Secondly, my classroom procedures poster. I have the first one as focus in on class. I want my students to put down their phones, stop talking to their peers unless it is for class-related conversation and discussion, and just really focus in on what I'm facilitating, what they are learning, etc. Secondly, complete the bell work, which will be the essential question on the board. I want them to be able to write down their answer, whether they know the answer already to the question or whether they don't know it yet. Thirdly, after they complete the well work, I will say my instructions for the next activity and just kind of facilitate and guide them through the rest of the lesson in the class. Fourth, participate in class. If they are going to learn and strive to obtain something out of the class, they need to participate. So I hope to encourage students to participate and not force them to. Number 5, complete the exit ticket. This will help kind of sum up what they learned from each lesson, and then also help me to gain and kind of inquire as to what they got out of it versus what I tried to teach them. My classroom consequences poster. This is a necessary poster, maybe not always the most enjoyable one to enforce, but it is necessary. So first and foremost, I would have a discussion with the student or with the class, depending on what kind of situation I was encountering. I would then, if that didn't work, have the student or students take a visit to the principal's office if I felt like it was a situation or something that I was not able to handle, or if they did not respect me in a situation. Fourth, I would arrange a meeting with parents and an administrator, just kind of bring the family in. Hopefully the parents or guardians would be people that they look up to and would be able to really influence and have an input on the situation. And fourthly, if all of these fail, I would assign a detention. My model program kind of starts off with the 3-circle model, FFA, classroom instruction, and SAE. I have below here the classroom classes and areas of content that I think are really vital for an ag ed program. They include animal science, plant science, environmental science and natural resources, and then ag mechanics. I'll start with ag mechanics. I think it's very important for students to know about ag mechanics and just have a broad understanding of it, because you never know when those skills will come into use in the future. Whether that's, I don't know, building a table in their kitchen that they need and saving money on that, or something else. But yeah, I would hope to teach intro to ag mech and then just have a local ag mech, which would be focused around ag mechanics in the area that was popular and in the area. Moving on to environmental science and natural resources, I want to focus on sustainable agriculture as well as watersheds and wetlands. Even if a student is not wanting to go into a career in environmental science and natural resources, I think it's important for them to know about it so that they can make informed life decisions that are good for the environment. Plant science and then animal science, I want to focus on plant propagation and international greenhouse management. I do think it's, and as well as international animal science, I do think it's important for students to know where their food comes from, whether that's meat or plants, because sometimes plants and meat does not come from the US, it comes from outside the US sometimes, so I think it's important for students to know. Yeah, that's my model program. I do hope to really incorporate labs and lots of hands-on work into the classroom. Frequent labs, hands-on, focusing on inquiry-based learning. So I'm not telling the students what to do, but I'm handing them a situation, a problem, something, and they get to inquire and kind of work through that themselves out of their own interest instead of my own interest for their lives. So kind of leads into the second point there, student-centered research and learning. SAE. I think I'll start with SAE for all, arrow pointing into the SAE program. SAE for all, I really want to incorporate foundational SAEs into classroom instruction, and then also, or not classroom instruction, but implement the SAE for all program into my ag ed program at the school I may be teaching at in the future, which would include that other area of foundational SAEs. And then the top one would kind of focus on immersion SAEs, where I would meet with students after school once a month, kind of going over their hours and what their experiences were. FFA, recruitment and fundraising. In order to have a really, really good program, recruitment and fundraising are kind of vital. If you don't have those two things, I don't believe that you can have a very good program. And then community involvement, I want my students to really understand and be members of their community, whether that is agriculturally or not related. And then I also would like my students and my overall program to value CDEs and LDEs and be competitors and active participants, there we go, of those competitions, and then also be active participants of FFA conventions at the state and national level. And then lastly here, I have service learning. I want my students to really value service, but also value learning. So if they can serve in a way that helps them learn, that would be awesome. I have an example here of a program recruitment video. I think the videos, creating a video with future teachers or co-teachers or just with myself, depending on the program, is a really good way to get students to know about the program, what we offer, what content, as well as what activities that they can get involved in. And then I would also want to have some students from my high school present to students from the middle school or even elementary school about what they're learning and what they're doing in the FFA chapter and the ag program, to really kind of spread the word about the cool things that we do. And then fundraisers and school-wide events are a good way to get even the community and students younger who may not be in high school yet to know about the ag program. Program community involvement. What would I want that to look like? I would try and incorporate some woodworking, welding, vegetable production, community-based units where students get to create something or grow something that they can donate to the community or give to them, or even bake something or make something kind of cooking that they can give to the community and benefit the area around them. I would also try and bring in guest speakers and take students out on local field trips to greenhouses, etc., to help them know more about their local community instead of just within their high school. And then also applying for grants is a great way as well to get the community involved. Second question, how do I know what I know? I'll explain more. First and foremost, Penn State. I have taken, these are just 4 examples of some courses I've taken that I think really have contributed to my appreciation for agriculture education and education in general, and the education system in America. And these assignments are all on my virtual handout, so if you guys want to take a look there, you can if you want to. I will point out the program planning handbook. I really enjoy the lab management plan. I love making that, and do think it really helped me to kind of think about the planning that goes behind implementing a lab, the materials it takes to implement it, etc. My certifications. I am a certified lifeguard with CPR and AED, and also kind of separately certified in CPR and AED. I'm certified as a level 1 archery instructor and also certified as an NSTMOP instructor, which stands for National Safe Tractor and Machinery Operator. I hope that these will come in handy someday as an ag teacher. Professional development. The first one I have listed here is the FLC, Fall Leadership Conference. I was able to teach in other offices, which would be any other office like Sentinel reporter that would be involved in FFA and kind of teach leadership strategies and theory to students. I also attended an Inquiry Institute in 2021. Jessica Grundy facilitated that. I thought that was very interesting, opened my horizons for what teaching could be. And then I attended NAAE in 2021 in New Orleans and went to workshops on students with special needs, conservation curriculum, and also water beads. The water beads workshop kind of went through an idea that another teacher had for artificial insemination, which I thought was really neat. And then in New Orleans at the NAAE convention, I attended the FAST Symposium, which was kind of like a workshop for future student teachers. And then also that same week of NAAE in New Orleans, we attended the ACTE convention, main session, and the expo hall. And then PAAE in 2022 was held at Del Valle University. And I attended workshops on global competencies, went on a nature walk, learned about nature, kind of observed wildlife, attended a forest management workshop, and then also went to a equine training theory workshop, which is really neat. We got to train horses and learn about how to train them and the idea and thinking kind of philosophy behind that. Here's a picture from the Inquiry Institute. Really, like I said, helped me understand what teaching could be, not just me talking and students versus students learning and inquiring about things that they're learning. NAAE and ACTE, these are some images from that. The picture on the top right is from ACTE. And then the other pictures are from NAAE. I really learned a lot there and had a lot of fun. And then PWAE this summer, the two left pictures are from the Peace Valley Nature Center. We took a tour there and they kind of walked us through erosion and how that can kind of work in a community. And then the top right picture is from the Forestry Management Lab working on controlled burns. We got to create kind of little mini controlled burns, which was really neat. I think I might try and implement that in the future at some point. And then the bottom picture on the right there is from a tour we took of a Warwick Farms brewing. Got to see how they grew hops and how they brewed their external related experiences. I have raised lambs, worked a lot in AFNR, including a dairy farm and a produce stand and landscaping crew. I've also volunteered as the chairman of the Barnyard Academy Children's Tent at the Effort Fair for probably about 3 years now. I was a member of the PSE Berks equestrian team and worked and volunteered at a summer camp from 2018 to 2022, various amounts each summer. And then also participated and visited the 2021 and 2022 National FFA conventions. Here are some pictures of me and my lambs. I love them. Their names were Go Billy and Bobby Joe. I love their names. I ended up winning Grand Champion and Grand Reserve Champion with them as my first time growing animals or racing animals. I thought that was kind of neat. And then here are some pictures of AFNR work experiences. The first one on the left here is me working on the dairy farm. And the one on the right is me working at the Penn State Dairy Barns, which was a neat experience. I got to learn about calf care and calf feeding. And then the two middle pictures are from working at landscaping and doing grounds work at LBC. Barnyard Academy. This is my baby. I have grown this. It's at the Effort Fair, and essentially I organize the donations, the setup, tear down of the tent, as well as creating new exhibits like this one here in the barrel with the little plants. I kind of created this past fall so that the students and kids could experience growing and, well, planting and harvesting crops. Now the crops were styrofoam, but I had beets and carrots and potatoes in there that they could work with. Summer camp. Summer camp really helped me to learn how to facilitate and manage large groups of people younger than myself. So I like this picture of me in the dinosaur suit because I called it Story Time with Dinosaur Diane. I had all the students and children sit down in front of me, and essentially it really helped me, and they enjoyed it, but it really helped me learn how to manage a group of kids in one setting instead of just moving from event to event. National Debate Convention. In 2021, I'll start in 2021, I attended with Penn State and competed there on their quiz bowl, which was fun. And then this past fall, I guess it was, I attended with Penn Manor, and we went to Phipps Conservatory in Pittsburgh, and also the Churchill Downs, which is really Kentucky. Derby is held, and there's pictures of it, so the main hall. How do I want to accommodate diverse learners? Firstly, I'll start off with the international aspects. I want to incorporate international agriculture into my program because, like I said earlier, it's important for students to know where their food comes from because not everything is grown in the US. I also want to facilitate culturally responsive teaching. So that would mean using language, using pictures, images, language of words in my presentations and then how I talk that don't just come across as welcoming one kind of student that I have in my mind, but actually welcoming all kinds of students, whatever they look like, however they talk, etc. I think that's very, 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 very important. I would also incorporate variability, which kind of goes into the international agriculture, acquiring different or teaching different kinds of content, but including visual aspects, auditory aspects, hands-on aspects of every lesson so that each student can learn to their best and I'm not just teaching to one kind of student, like I kind of said earlier. And then flexibility. I really want to be a servant to my students, and that means me changing, learning, growing how I teach for my students so that they can learn to the best of their ability, and not so I can teach to the best. Well, actually, flexibility probably would facilitate me teaching to the best of my ability. And the third question is, how have I prepared for student teaching? Or what will my student teaching experience look like? I'll start off with a cooperating center description. I will be student teaching at Penn Manor High School in Lancaster County. They are a 5-teacher program, and I'll be student teaching with Mr. Neil Fellenbaum. They have some really awesome fundraisers that they do, poinsettia and a fruit sale. They grow their own poinsettias in the greenhouse. I think I have a picture of it down there. They also have an antique tractor pull and a car show, which are really neat. And a bunch of the students are involved and show animals in the Solanco Fair. They do have about 100 active members, so it's a pretty large chapter, and I am excited to student teach there. My cooperating center evaluation. What have I observed about my cooperating center? I have observed a lot of emphasis and importance placed on SAE, CDE involvement, and FFA active involvement. They do a lot in the classroom as well, but I think they really value SAEs, CDEs, and FFA involvement as well, which is kind of neat to me that they're incorporating every single aspect of the 3-circle model. Third one I have, or second one, they have a wide range of content areas and plenty of resources and facilities for the students to use. Kind of, I showed a bunch of the pictures on the last slide. I think that's really neat that they can offer that for their students. And lastly, they do have some really good fundraisers and community events, as I mentioned on the last slide, that get students really involved and interested in what the program's doing. What are my courses and units for the 2020 spring? This is kind of just an overview of what my spring is going to look like. I'm going to be student teaching 3 different classes: Plant 2, which is my second block, Intro to Ag Mech, which is my third block, and then Intro to AFNR, which is my fourth block. Each of these are about 80 to 85 minutes, and I am happy to say that I have prepared well for them. So for Plant 2, I have crops and crop production, plant nutrition, soil and fertilizers, IPM and pests, and then harvest and post-harvest. For Intro to Ag Mech, I have welding and engines, and then for CASE, Intro to AFNR is a case-based course. I have circles of Ag Ed, communicating today, science of agriculture, natural resources, and plants and animals, which is a long unit, but a good one. How have I organized my course and prepared for my courses? If you guys would like to scan these QR codes, I have an example of a unit plan, an example of one of my lesson plans. I'm happy to say that I have completed all of the unit lesson plans that I needed to. And I do believe that they are preparing me well and have prepared me well for teaching in the classroom. What are some of my strengths? I believe enthusiasm. I hope you can see enthusiasm in my presentation today. Is one of my strengths, as well as leadership. I love to lead. The summer camp that I worked at definitely helped with that and kind of developed that and grew that, as well as classroom management. Camp helped with that as well. Implementing variability, that's a passion of mine, and I do think I'm kind of good at it, I have to say. I also think growth mindset and humility go hand in hand, because in order to have a growth mindset, I do think you need to have humility in order to recognize that you're not doing something perfectly, and then to grow and learn from that. What are some of my growth goals? Just like these little sprouts coming up from the soil, I personally want to be more intentional about everything that I do, whether that's in the classroom, outside of the classroom. I want my decisions and actions to be very intentional with purpose. I also want to work on not procrastinating. That's always been an issue for me. However, I have improved, and I want to keep improving on that. And then lastly, personally, I want to be bold and confident in and out of the classroom. I can be, there's times, but I want to be more consistent where I'm bold and confident all the time. And then professionally, I want to work on managing tasks. So kind of looking at all my tasks and not valuing the lesser important ones over the more important ones. I want to tackle the ones that are more important first. That's something I've struggled with and I want to improve on. And then also managing my time well, which kind of fits into the working on not procrastinating. Secondly, I want to bring in at least one guest speaker to a class. I've already kind of been mulling through who I could have come and speak. And then also want to plan or go on at least one field trip with my cooperating center. And green leaf plant semester is one that I'm going to try and facilitate for my plant science 2 course. I think that would be really beneficial for my students. So thank you. Thank you for coming. That's all. Well, hold on. Sorry, I want to say one more thing. You may have noticed 2 different images from 2 different cohorts in my presentation. I just want to say that I have had the opportunity and the blessing to be a member of 2 different cohorts, to learn from them and have relationships in both of them, but also to form relationships in both of them and offer wisdom, advice, and companionship. So, thank you.
With that, move to our question and answer portion. Lauren, I'll get us started off first with my question revolves around sort of your planning process and the way in which you're sort of developing lessons and units. And I want you to maybe talk a little bit about how you actually navigate that process. So start me from I'm thinking about a course, then I think about a unit, and I think about a lesson. Walk me through why those are really even 3 things to begin with, and how it helps in the planning process for each of those stages.
Yeah. So when looking at a course, and this kind of ties into units, they all tie into each other. But when looking at a course, you want to organize the units in the course so that the content builds on top of each other. So you don't want to teach the really, really in-depth stuff at the end of, say, a timeline. I'll take my plant science 2 class that I'll be student teaching for kind of an example. I wouldn't put the harvest and post-harvest at the very beginning. Because the content from the planting, crops and crop production would build onto that. So I don't want to put the stuff that's, I guess, in the timeline first. So you want to be mindful of where you place those units and how you organize them. And then for lessons individually, creating the unit plans for each of those units helps you to create the lessons and kind of observe how the lessons will build off of one another as well. So how I went about creating everything is looking at the class, organizing how I would want the content to build off of each other, creating the units in that order, and then kind of looking at the individual classes and the individual days and creating the lesson plans from content I had developed in the unit plan, and then based on content to build off one another. Yeah? Yes.
So when you're talking about your classroom consequences, you had mentioned like having them visit the principal's office if maybe they just weren't respecting you. What is a way that you might be able to gain students' respect, like starting off as being a student teacher?
Yeah, I think the main thing is respecting them. I'll shout out my younger brother, who is a high school student, has mentioned to me many times, because I like to seek advice from him and perspective from him. He's mentioned many times that students in high school, himself, does not like to be disrespected by an adult or even believe in them, to think that they can do what they know that they can do. I don't know if that makes sense. I'm gonna say this right. Yeah, to know that they can do something instead of assuming that they can't. There we go. To respect them, to respect their abilities. Yeah, and really just believe in them and build them up as students.
Hey, Lauren, talk to me please describe for me the dispositions of a professional educator.
Well, I guess I'll start off with boundaries. I think it's important to formulate professional boundaries with other teachers, with students, and even with yourself, so that you can live and work in a place where you feel confident and comfortable. Now, you're not always going to be in your comfort zone when teaching. However, well, in order to learn, you can't stay in your comfort zone. But I think there is a level of professionally keeping boundaries so that you can teach effectively and well. I think also as a teacher, it's important to be professional in how you grow students, encourage them, speak into their lives, and teach them. And I think that's a way you can be professional as well.
Okay.
I don't know if that answered your question.
I want to follow up and redirect a little bit. Because I
Okay.
look at Penn Manor and joining a great team with 4 different agricultural educators all working in different directions. Talk to me about some strategies that you are going to use to navigate this multi-teacher to become a part of this team, this multi-teacher program.
I kind of had coworker collaboration on my teaching philosophy. I do want to ask.
Tell me more about what that means.
Yes, yes. I want to work with them, and what I mean by work with them is ask questions of them, learn from them. Most of them have been teaching for over 4 years. So I really want to ask questions and grow and learn from their experiences and their advice that they have to give. So.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions?
We have a question in the chat. It says, you talked about implementing foundational SEs in your program. What are other ways that you can recruit and retain students that might not want to pursue agricultural careers?
I'm curious. I'd like to know who asked that question in the chat.
MJ.
MJ.
I believe
All right.
that's my guess.
Very good. Thank you.
Would you be able to repeat the question?
Yes. Well, it says you talked about implementing foundational SEs in your program. What are other ways that you can recruit and retain students that might not want to pursue agricultural careers?
So in my intro to AFNR course that I'll be student teaching, I kind of actually just wrote some lessons the other day about career exploration within agriculture and all of the different facets that agriculture can have. It can be marketing, it can be, oh goodness. Yeah, well, marketing is an example. It's not just about working on a farm dealing with plants and animals, if that makes sense. So in that unit, I have them kind of explore the different careers about agriculture, break down maybe some misconceptions they have about agricultural careers. And if they want to, if the student really wants to, they can explore what careers that they are interested in. I mentioned student-based interest learning a lot in my presentation. So during that unit and during those lessons, I really want students to formulate their career interests, whether that is in agriculture or not.
I'm curious on this one. I'm going to test your retention of knowledge. This is a novel situation. It's been a minute since you were in 412. And when we were in 412, we set a really important framework that would help us when we hit those days where the lessons didn't click that we could use to evaluate was characteristics of effective teaching. I'm going to turn over here and ask the members of PSU Ag 23, what is the acronym for those 5 characteristics of effective teaching? BCOF. So they've given me the BCOF. Can you tell me what BCOF stands for?
Yes, I think. Not most of them. I might not get all of them.
All right, let's go through it. B.
Business-like behavior.
E.
Enthusiasm.
C.
Clarity.
O.
Opportunity based.
You're doing awesome. You're only helping. Yeah,
And variability.
yeah, you got them all. No, well done.
All right.
Super impressed. Super impressed. Glad you came out of that. We appreciate that. So when you think about those characteristics, and I think you said it, but I want you to remind me because there were a lot of slides. If you were going to focus on one on your teaching practice as you start in January, which one are you going to focus on first?
I'm going to go with variability.
I saw that.
Yeah. I mentioned that a few times in my presentation. I think it's probably the first one I would go to because I feel like I've kind of already practiced implementing it. And yeah, that's fine.
I like it.
What's the cellular device policy at the school that you're going to be teaching?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
Has the faculty that you're going to be working with commented on it at all?
I believe I've had a few conversations or just heard some comments from some of the teachers, but at the moment I cannot remember exactly what they
I have one question for you. What's one way you're gonna leave the woodpile higher in there?
were. That's a big question.
How will Penn Manor benefit from at the end of you being there for 15 weeks? What's one way you leave the woodpile higher?
Are you talking relationally or content
I'll
teaching
let you take it
wise?
whatever direction you want.
All right. I want to encourage my coworkers there as I'll be student teaching, and I also want to encourage the students. I want my enthusiasm and encouragement to come across really positively and really leave an impact on the teachers that I'll be working with and the students that I'll be teaching. Yeah, I want to make an impression on the students and on my teachers of enthusiasm, positivity, realness, and ability to listen to them, to understand them.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That concludes our time for questions. Can you please help me in congratulating Ms. Cochran? To conclude our last of the presentations for today, we will be starting off strong tomorrow with Mr. Turco at 8:30.
There you go, buddy.
We will see you all then.